Pompeii wakes up under a perfect sky without knowing it's the city's last morning. Beneath the cobbles, the ground gives a small, uneasy shiver. People pause, then shrug, and the day keeps moving. Far above them, the mountain is quiet to quiet. Then, without warning, the sky begins to change shape. Pompeii sits on a restless landscape, but most people treat tremors like bad weather, annoying, familiar, survivable. That habit is the first link in the chain, because it teaches the city to ignore the only language the earth offers. Before disaster, the mountain isn't just a backdrop. It is a sealed system under pressure, and when that seal fails, the first visible sign is a column, an enormous rising tower that turns sunlight dim and makes the horizon look suddenly far away. At first, people don't see fire. They see debris, light stone, and gritty ash that falls like a strange snowfall, tapping on roofs, collecting in corners, turning every breath dry, and making each choice feel temporary. Wait, or run, or secure the house. The city's first instinct is to protect what it owns. Doors are barred, cloth is pressed to mouths, bundles are tied. But every minute spent saving property is a minute the streets become harder to read, because landmarks soften under ash and the air grows thick. Outside, the soundscape changes. Not screams yet, but a constant hiss of falling stone, the creak of beams taking new weight, and the distant, low roar of a mountain venting its insides into the sky, like thunder that never finishes. Now cause becomes effect. The longer the fall continues, the heavier the roofs become. Tiles don't need flames to fail, only weight and vibration. A city built for sun and commerce becomes a trap of narrow lanes and brittle angles. Some families choose the open road immediately, betting on distance over shelter. Others hesitate, thinking stone walls mean safety. But the eruption doesn't offer one single safe rule. It keeps rewriting the rules, and survival depends on adapting faster than the ash can fall. In courtyards, people cover jars, gather water, and look up every few breaths because the sky is no longer stable. The column widens, darkens, and spreads outward, turning midday into a bruised twilight that makes direction harder and panic easier. The streets narrow under the fall. Pumice piles against thresholds like drifts. Sandals slip, wheels if you have them bog down. And in that slow motion clog, the city begins to lose one of its best defenses: movement. Some head for the shoreline, believing the sea means escape. It's a logical move until the air turns abrasive and visibility collapses. The bay that once promised an exit starts to feel like the edge of the world, and the world is closing in. Meanwhile, inside the city, the air becomes work. Each breath needs effort. Cloth helps, but it also traps heat and ash. The eruption's simplest weapon is not flame, it's fatigue. Because exhaustion makes bad decisions feel like the only decisions left. Hours pass, and the fall does not stop. That's the psychological breaking point. A short crisis can be endured. A relentless one changes people. It turns hope into bargaining. One more hour, one more room, one more attempt to wait it out. Under the mountain, the eruption column is unstable. It rises, collapses, rises again, each collapse sending heavier material outward. People in Pompeii don't need to understand geology to feel the truth. The mountain is getting closer, even if it's miles away. Now the city starts to break. Roof sections slump, courtyard beams groan. The danger is not dramatic, it's mundane and sudden, like a staircase that is fine until the exact moment it isn't. And every collapse fills the air with more choking dust. In the streets, sound and sight compress. People move in clusters, hands on shoulders, keeping contact as visibility drops. This is a city built like a maze, and ash turns the maze into a blindfold. Even familiar corners start to look like the wrong street. As daylight fades, torches would normally help, but wind and ash make open flame unreliable. And the falling grit punishes the eyes. The eruption forces everyone into the same narrowing tunnel of options. Keep moving, or shelter and gamble that the roof holds. But shelter has a hidden cost. You can't see the sky. You can't measure the fall. You can't know when wait becomes too late. Outside, the pumice is building into drifts. Inside, the air is thinning into something that feels smaller with every hour. Sometime in the night, the eruption shifts from falling stone to something faster and deadlier. Surges hot, ash-laden clouds that can outrun a person. You don't fight a surge. You don't reason with it. You only try to not be where it goes. In Pompeii, the darkness is unnatural. Ash blocks the sky. Dust blocks the lungs. People feel walls with fingertips, counting doorways, trying to keep families together. The city becomes a sequence of tactile decisions, left or right, inside or out, made by touch alone. Those who reach open ground face another threat. The rain of stone can strike like hail. People raise baskets, boards, anything they can find above their heads. It looks primitive, but it's a rational response because the eruption is now attacking from above and below. At the shoreline, the sea itself seems uncertain. The air is thick, the horizon erased, and the waterline feels wrong, pulled and pushed by distant shocks. Boats are there, but launching into darkness is its own gamble, and a gamble is all anyone has left. Back in the city, ash piles into doorways like snowdrifts, sealing houses from the outside. That's the cruel geometry of Pompeii: narrow streets, high walls, and now rising ground level. The exit doesn't vanish in a flash, it vanishes in inches. And then comes the moment that ends Pompeii as a living place. A major surge reaches the city. It's not a wave you can see from far away. It's a wall of heat and ash that turns streets into corridors of pressure and panic. In those seconds, the instinct is simple. Cover your face, find a doorway, press into corners, hold on to someone. The tragedy is that instincts evolved for smoke and storms, not for a mountain's breath. Here, the environment changes faster than the body can respond. After the surges, the city is quieter, not safe, just quieter. Ash blankets sound, and the air becomes a heavy curtain. A familiar street becomes a different planet. Doorways rounded by drifts, statues softened into shapes, courtyards filled like bowls left out in a storm. In a nearby villa or roadway, travelers who fled early might look back and see nothing but a massive ash canopy swallowing the coastline. That view is the final confirmation. There is no returning for possessions, no waiting for the sky to clear, because the sky is now part of the mountain. By the end, Pompeii is not destroyed in the way people imagine. It is sealed. The buildings remain as volumes under a new surface, like objects pressed under wet sand. The eruption doesn't just kill a city, it preserves its outline by burying it intact. Morning arrives somewhere above the ash. But in Pompeii, there is no morning, only dimness and still air. The eruption has taken the loudest thing in the world and replaced it with silence, as if the city has been wrapped in thick cloth and set aside. And this is why Pompeii haunts us. Many disasters erase evidence. This one locked evidence in place. It captured ordinary life: mid-step shops, courtyards, kitchens, streets, and turned them into a time capsule that feels almost personal. Almost like trespassing. The cause and effect chain is ruthless in hindsight. Ignore tremors, delay departure, let ash build, lose visibility, lose movement, and then face the fast hazards when the mountain shifts modes. Pompeii isn't one mistake, it's many small, understandable choices made under uncertainty. Imagine the final sensory reality: grit on the tongue, eyes burning, a constant rasp in the throat, and the strange weight of ash pressing on shoulders and roofs. The fear isn't cinematic, it's practical: finding air, finding family, finding a path that still exists when the eruption ends. Nature doesn't celebrate, it simply settles. Ash cools, the surface hardens, rain may come later and compress it further, and over time, grass grows where streets used to be, making the absence look deceptively peaceful. Centuries pass, and the world above forgets the exact map of streets below, but the city remains, sealed under layers like pages in a closed book. Pompeii becomes a lesson written in silence. The past doesn't disappear, it can be hidden, intact, waiting. The most terrifying part is how normal the beginning was. A market, a courtyard, a glance at a mountain that had always been there. That's why Pompeii feels close to us, because the first hour doesn't look like an ending at all. If you were in Pompeii, what would you trust: stone walls or open air? The city gate or the shoreline? A known road or a random path? The eruption punishes certainty, because certainty makes you slow. The only advantage is recognizing the pattern early enough to move. Pompeii's story is often told as a single blast, but it was a timeline, hours of warning, hesitation, escalation, and shifting threats. That timeline is the real drama, because it means there were moments when escape was possible, and moments when the window quietly closed. And still there's a strange mercy in the preservation. The city that vanished left behind an imprint sharp enough to let us reconstruct a day from 2,000 years ago, not as myth, but as a sequence of human choices under a changing sky. So remember the beginning, the ripple in a basin, the dust from a wall, the first thin veil over the sun. History often announces itself softly before it turns loud. Pompeii teaches that the smallest signals can be the most important if we treat them as real. If you want more true, cinematic timelines, days when one decision changed everything, subscribe now. Next episode, we'll enter another turning point where the world held its breath and history moved in the shadows. Until then, tell me, when would you have left Pompeii?